out to the universe. So here we are again with my dear friend Katherine.
Yes.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Yeah,
You well?
I've been good having a lot of revelations.
Yeah.
There was some we were just talking about. It's private net for the time being, obviously.
Yeah.
But like other stuff, figured out my favourite thing is like characters.
Oh yeah.
So like that'll if I incorporate that into my time, hopefully I'll sleep better.
Characters, as in for writing.
Yeah.
Your favourite thing is characters.
Yeah, because I was also doing to do with what they were wearing, because I was doing costume. Not actually costume. I was doing cosplay, so it's a little bit different. Costume makes it out so like you're doing something serious business.
But you said you had a revelation recently about.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. About
So
your
good.
love of character.
Yeah.
And that relates to your writing.
Yes.
Because was a really strong thing. Catherine's sort of had a children's book on the burner for a little while. It's gone off the burner and back.
And back now.
But really strong with the characters, I felt. Yeah. Do you want to talk about a couple of the characters? Yeah.
Well, mainly the two in the other story I'd written. The first two characters I wrote were Fuzzy Bunch the koala, and I called him Old Roosty first, the rooster, but now I've called him Bruce the rooster. To make him more
Oh, right, Bruce. Yeah. Old Roosty. There could be two roosters. But anyway, so they were the Old Roosty.
I mean,
Old
there
Bruce
is one. There's the old Roosty. I call him Caleb. He's in a wheelchair. He's
Old
Roosty's
Roosty.
dad.
Okay. So yeah, the rooster was the farmer, and all these little animals with the different characters. Yeah. So hopefully one day we'll see that realised.
Yeah. I mean, I just. It's in the bag, so you can have like the first one. It's very descriptive version. I don't know, like in one day maybe it'll actually be a proper book.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's claim that now. All right. So anything in the news or anything going on that's caught your interest or that you want to talk about? We never lined that up. But
No.
I just thought in case there was something going on. I don't know what's going on with me.
I mean, if I scroll through my notes.
Yeah, no, I didn't promise for that, but I just thought if there was something going on. I guess the biggest thing that's going on that I'm looking at is this whole Palestine-Israel thing, and how it feels like there's a popular swing away from the blind backing of the Zionists, and a bit more awareness of the atrocities that are going on against the Palestinians, making people go, hang on a minute, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Why are we saying this is all right?
Because of the UN, like Benjamin Netanyahu was able to stare down the UN for 30 seconds to a minute or something like that. So it's just, because the UN is nothing. As I've heard. Like, what is
In
it?
reality, it doesn't really have any. So
anything.
yeah, it just becomes a big cumbersome thing. Yeah. Anyway, so we've put down as our topics for today is grace versus legalism. Yeah. And so I think everyone who's travelled with God, and even people who haven't travelled with God, it's sort of like it's a part of life, isn't it? Learning how you navigate those two extremes.
Yeah,
to some sort. Yeah. So that's been part of your journey. Big part of your journey as a believer.
Yeah.
So in Christianity, specifically, I guess it's been talked about right through Christianity. I think it's been a huge topic trying to work that out, and a lot of the Reformation was. Stepping out of the maybe perhaps the legalism of the Catholic Church that was using that legalistic aspect to bring a lot of control, and I think Luther's big thing was realizing that he was saved by grace. So do you want to tell us a bit about what you what's happened is Catherine's written something that she wants to read, and if there's need, we can have a conversation about it. But but we'll just let her read her thing, and then we can have a bit of a chat about it after that. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, or if you want to cut, because I do mention you obviously.
Oh, no, obviously. I'm in there. I made it. It's a Catherine's story.
Yeah.
All right, so you want to do that?
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to swing your laptop over this way a bit more? So you can be, yeah.
We'll be on its side.
Why will it be on its side?
Because there's actually I can do that the other way. I can do that one.
Oh, I see. It's got a thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Now. Okay. So yeah. My journey from legalism to grace.
All right, so nice and big and clear. And,
Yeah.
and remember, this is our people. Hello, people.
Yeah. The camera. Yeah. The story starts here. When I was about 7 years old, I believe that I had been going to a Catholic church in Adelaide. I think it was St. Augustine's. Probably because my grandparents on my mother's side, and possibly my mother as well, were Catholic. But I don't remember much about church and how I responded to it at the time. I probably thought that it was boring, and at some point I went to, as my mum told me, an Assemblies of God Pentecostal woman called Mary's house. I went to her house. Mary showed me a video about people either going to heaven or hell.
Oh, so it was a Pentecostal that did that?
Yeah, it was.
So we can't blame the Catholics?
No.
No, we always thought it was the Catholics.
My mum
we could
just
blame them.
explained it to me maybe today or yesterday. Or
Oh,
something.
right, okay. So she remembers that.
Yeah, I can't believe she remembers that. Like.
Yeah. So since I met Catherine, it's been a topic, hasn't it? Heaven and hell. And talking about this, the idea
I
that...
wasn't even properly saved until like recently.
Right.
As in feeling that I was.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
That's
so...
another thing. I've been very scared and fearful of God and stuff.
Yeah. And so this made a big impact on you, this film.
Yeah.
All right, carry on.
So in this, the only people that I can remember who went to heaven or hell were a mother and daughter. The mother went to hell and the daughter went to heaven. The daughter wanted to see her mother but was distraught to find out that she couldn't because her mother was in hell. Now, the very fact that I can remember something like that from a long time ago shows that it must have had a lasting impact on me, at least a subconscious impact, because in fact it didn't seem to affect me consciously, which is further to what we were talking about.
We were just having a conversation about
so we can't talk about that.
how things affect us. We can be consciously having one response and unconsciously having another response.
So it seems to be from 7 years old that's happening. Maybe I'll talk about it later, but yeah, I mean, that's another example. So, but I guess it was always there at the back of my mind. My mum told me that if I had spoken up at that point, I would have, my mum would have said something to Mary. Yeah, maybe it's.
But you don't know as a child, do you? You just go along with things and...
Yeah. Skip forward about 12 years to when I was about 19 and an episode of The Simpsons showed something about hell. I don't know which episode it was, I forgot. It was one of them. And
So you sure the movie wasn't the Left Behind or anything like that?
no,
It was definitely
separate.
Heaven and Hell.
It was something really, really poorly made. I guess seemed to be on a stage or something, so it wasn't...
Right, and so that represented hell in some way?
Yeah, well, the mother went to the...
How did it represent hell?
I don't remember. I just remember the daughter crying and the mother going to hell. And I don't know what happened with the hell part.
And did it say why one went to heaven and one went to hell? In the movie, do you remember
I
it?
forgot. So
You don't remember,
It was
so-
ages ago. So.
Yeah, I'm just wondering
Yeah.
what it left with you, the impression of, because I know when I met you, you still had quite a fear of hell.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, it sounds like it stayed a sort of floating idea. You don't really know who goes, but one person can go to heaven and one person can go to hell. You don't really know why,
I guess that's sort of
which makes you very anxious. It's a very
Yeah.
anxiety
yeah.
producing state of mind
Mm.
to have such dire consequences, and you're not quite sure if you're doing it right.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah. It was fearful of God, so that was the motivator for me to join my local Anglican church up the road that I believe my mum was already going to in North Ryde near Sydney. My mum had obviously made the switch from Catholic to Protestant at some point. And then this Anglican church that me and my mum were going to wasn't very legalistic, and it was a good fit as me and my mum stayed there for a long while and only left when we moved. I was baptised there twice because the first time I was baptised by sprinkling and believed it wasn't correct, so I got it done a second time underwater. For the second time I heard someone say, "Here we go again." And I was
What do you mean you heard someone say that?
Someone said that, like, "Here we go again," like I've been baptised a second time, so yeah, that was annoying.
So that was still within the Anglican Church. So they didn't mind doing full immersion baptism.
That, like, if you ask for it.
Oh, because I think some of the traditional churches aren't equipped to do that, but it may be changing now.
They had a kiddie pool in summer, so it was
Yeah, right.
worked out. So,
Yeah.
and all kids
So what
playing
age were you
afterwards.
then?
Possibly when I got done properly the second time round. I don't know, 20s, early 20s, I think.
So you were already starting to take things like religious things pretty serious. So you'd
Yeah.
always taken it all pretty seriously. So you must have been doing a bit of your own research because if you're in an Anglican church, they're probably not promoting full immersion baptism. So you
I don't know, like,
figured
I
that out
wasn't on
yourself.
YouTube at the time. I wasn't in, like, YouTube started in like 2013. I might have been that brief little time when I came back to Sydney, and then I asked him to do it properly, like after I came to Sydney after being in Wales, which was 2013, 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So, no,
All right.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But that was me I was very precise about things because of what I'd heard, and now that, like, as you can see later on, it kind of shifts and it changes back to, I listen to you a lot more. Yes, I'm just chilling out a bit more, so there's a lot of things that I don't mind about. I could say one of them is, like, Voddie Baucham said, "I don't watch The Chosen because it's, like, first of all, it's idolatry because it's got the image of Jesus in it." And then Alan Parr's saying, "Oh, it's great, it's awesome." And I'm like, "Yeah, alright, I'll go with Alan Parr. I don't know." It's not out of any real doctrine or anything. It's just like, I just feel, maybe it's the Holy Spirit saying, "It's fine, Katherine," you know.
Mm.
So.
Yes, yes. Good.
So I got Lexi a piece of thing of the Chosen, poster of the Chosen, not a big one, just a small one.
Yeah.
And that was when I changed my mind on that, and I changed my.
Yeah.
I'll talk about changing my mind later on.
Yeah. Okay. Carry on.
Yeah. And then, I believe around the start of 2016, for an introduction to Rob Skeeber, who's now deceased apparently.
I know that name's familiar. I can't remember what I know about
A
him.
flat earther.
Oh.
Yeah. He's both. He's Hebrew roots and flat earth.
All right. Okay. Going back to basics.
Yeah.
All around. Okay. Carry on.
Yeah, I become Hebrew roots. The two videos, I think I watched both of them, are part of the Ephraim Awakening Notes by Rob Skeeber, called Part 1, Who is the Church? And the image for that seems to be the prodigal son, I believe it is. So I think that he talks about the prodigal son in that one. And Part 2 Obeying Yahuwah, that YHWH is now a doctrine of devils, ? So, I mean, that question right there...
Sorry, could you clarify that for me? What was it again? Say it again.
Part 2, obeying YHWH or the name of God is now a doctrine of devils, ?
So it was the obeying Yod Hey Vav Hey is a doctrine of demons.
He's saying ? is...
All right, so maybe that was to get people interested. But what
it was a bit clickbait because I think it would have worked on me.
What was he actually talking about?
Oh, I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay.
Second time round.
All right, so this was... All right, I don't
These two videos got me into it. I think I watched both of them.
Okay, so just talk about that. All right, carry on.
Yeah. They, as I last checked, they're still on YouTube. I think I saw them yesterday anyway. They're still on YouTube pretty much, I believe so. Yeah. Further to this, I also become a flat earther with the really wrong A map and model. And then I'll go on a tangent for a second.
So flat earth, that's one we should do an episode on.
Yeah. There's better models out there to make more sense, like the asteroids model, based on the game Asteroids. So not Pac-Man, which I think I once called it the Pac-Man model, but it's not.
Model of the Earth.
Flat Earth is like a square Earth, as a footstool kind of thing, as described in the Bible, but at the same time, like there is the ability to go from one side of the screen to the other side and come back around. That's how it works. That's how it makes more sense than the A map or model. So it was Wake Souls Unlimited's channel, but I don't like them because they had I'm pretty sure they said that no one died in at least the Twin Towers on 9/11. Yeah.
Sorry, we just jumped.
We just jumped.
I was just leaving the flat earth thinking, I'm not going to get into that now. We'll have to do a whole episode on that one. And then suddenly we were at the Twin Towers and nobody died.
Yeah, apparently that's what I'm pretty sure. This is coming back from something I remember.
So this is somebody whose theory is that 9/11 was just a pretend catastrophe.
I think so.
Anyway, all right.
Then
I've never heard that one.
It relates back because they appear to be sacred namers, which I'll get to later with shame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then I watch a lot of Now You See TV live streams with Jonathan Pounders and David Carrico.
Did you say Now You See?
It's called Now You See TV.
Oh, okay. That's on the web.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, YouTube. Okay, sorry. Yeah, of course. All right. Carry on.
Yeah. Early on, someone from the Hebrew Roots movement said that you don't have to follow all of the 613 commandments because some were for men, women, farmers, etc., different people in society. So that made things less stressful. I was still worried about the remaining commandments that I did have to keep, though.
So that's what the little bit when I looked it up. It's like there's a bit. One of the problems is there's a lot of variety in what people believe about Hebrew roots. So there's no one single.
Yeah. They're all infighting with each other.
Yeah, right. Oh, what fun.
Yeah. I mean, that means you shouldn't have it, like John was saying, you shouldn't have anything to do with something when it's infighting. That means politics, and then also the Hebrew roots and sacred namers. Obviously, they're just infighting with each other.
Well, I suppose it's a good indicator if Jesus says, this is how you'll know my disciples, by the love they have one for another. So that is a good point, you know. It's like, not that we judge whether or not they've got a relationship with God or not, but it's in terms of discipleship, it's like they're not getting it, I think, if the people are caught up in these things that make them fight with each other, then they're not really following the discipleship of Jesus. And I think that would be a good indication. So yeah, that's good. Carry on.
Yeah. this is actually quite relevant, the Passover, which we're coming up for anyways. So what did make things even more stressful was the upcoming Passover. So I asked a question or questions on the chat about Passover and getting everything clean for it.
So can I just ask for a sec? So at this point you're fully invested in Hebrew roots?
I think, yeah.
So are you still going to the Anglican church?
No, because I was in Gosford.
So this is sometime after going to Anglican church. Were you attending any church? That wasn't very relevant, whatever you were doing in church. So this is all online. You've got submerged in this culture of Hebrew roots. And how long do you think you stayed within that mindset?
It seemed, like I mentioned later on, it turns into like Ari Dawson. I'm guessing just the maths and the time frames and the year, the calendar, made me think I stayed with it for about a year.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
All right. And so your version of the Hebrew roots was that you pretty much had to live like a Jew.
I guess, yeah, and 119 Ministries as well. They were very good at telling you how it works, I think.
And did men have to get circumcised? Did they have a policy about that?
I'm not sure.
And what else? Like what sort of things did you have to do?
Not work on. Maybe it was Saturday. Not work on Saturday from
like
sunset to
sunset. Sunset to sunset.
Sunset
Yeah.
to sunset. So I was always trying to dash around to finish all my chores and stuff.
Right.
And then I just had to do nothing on
And did you light 2 candles and things like that? Did you do?
I know.
Did you do Sabbath stuff? Was that part of it? I mean, I'm not saying what you should or shouldn't have done. I'm saying, was that what was encouraged? To do full Sabbath celebrations and that kind of thing? Not that you remember. Okay. So once again, it's this funny thing. It's like what we're talking about with hell and that feeling of like you're never quite sure. There's these extreme consequences, but you're never really sure when there's no way of going, yes, I've done it, I'm right. It's a bit like this stuff too, isn't it? You got this sort of heavy thing of this is God's law and you've got to obey it, to be right with God. But it's like, but do you do this and do you do that? Do you do that? Like, which bits do you do? And then you never know. So it creates a whole obsessive compulsive kind of state of mind, that you're always trying to make sure you've tried that extra bit to make sure you're good.
Yeah.
But you're never quite sure if you're good. All right, carry on.
So Passover was coming up, and I asked a question just on the chat about Passover. I was live, so I wasn't on live stream, so I was able to. Yeah, it was good.
Right.
Getting everything clean for Passover, or keeping I'm not sure what I asked about that I was stressing about. Anyways, the people in the chat reassured me that I didn't have to do everything straight away. Just work towards the goal of keeping Torah properly. So, yeah, that was a bit weird for me. I thought they were like, oh, you have to do everything every day, all the time, properly, correct. No, they said, I'll just say it again, I didn't have to do everything straight away, just work towards the goal of keeping Torah properly. Yeah. And
what was the point of keeping Torah?
Jesus was a Jew, I guess. There's also all this stuff, they convince you. It works. If you don't read Paul's letters properly, then you...
Oh, yes, I saw that. So they disqualified Paul's letters. They say that's not part of Scripture.
Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially because that was his... And it's really interesting that his role was crossing that barrier into the Gentiles.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he was such a... he calls himself a Pharisee of Pharisees. He was very, very Jewish. Very law-abiding, very Torah, what's the word? Doing. And so they were all, they were all Jews, and they all had this conflict that they had to wrestle with and try to figure out how to navigate that transition into something else. But he really was the firebrand that stormed through all that resistance, which is interesting because he was so religious, so Torah observing, so zealous, that's the word I'm looking for, is why he was like passionate about wiping out the Christians, because he was so offended by what they were doing to his religion. So then it's interesting how God uses that of showing him that he's destroying the God that he claims to love. And then it must make it sort of easier for him then to be able to leave behind that person that he was, that was so against God when he was trying so hard to be for God, that then he goes on to be able to break through those barriers, which are very strong and very real, those barriers that hold us in religion. And that's sort of what you're talking about, those bonds. I don't know, like chair creaking. I have to get some oil under that.
I met a guy who lived in the same street as me in Gosford. Went over to his house and became friends with him. And for Passover, I invited him over to my house for the Passover meal, which it was mostly lamb chops. I might have had the maror as well, which is the bitter herbs, I think. I might have. I don't remember.
So was he into Hebrew roots?
No.
Oh.
So it's completely random. He might have been wanting a free feed or just hanging out with me or something.
That's all right. And was he Christian at all? No. So it was just you invited a guy over to do Passover.
So yeah, it was before having the meal. It was required that you would wear shoes during while eating the meal, because of the Hebrews needing to dash off at any moment during
you
the
had to
first
wear your shoes.
Passover, because obviously
They were even standing up, weren't they, at the original one? They weren't allowed to sit down. But you were allowed to sit down. That's good. No, I don't think the Jews stand up still.
He probably would have got pretty pissed off with me.
I don't think the Jews still stand up. I just mean at the very original Passover, I think they had to stand up. That's my memory anyway. But anyway, go on.
Kept to that one. Oh my God. So I told my friend to put his shoes on first, and he was mildly annoyed. Yeah. And then later on, I began to wear blue tzitzits. And if tzitzits, you know what they are?
No.
They're like little tassels.
Okay.
They're supposed to be white, as if you're a Jew, like you. I think the Hebrew roots. Depends on who you are and who you're talking to, but they don't know the proper colour blue, so they just leave them white. Yeah.
Who doesn't know the proper colour blue?
I think the real Orthodox, serious business Jews
don't know the difference between white and blue.
Oh, there's a specific cut, like if you're looking at paints.
Oh, it represents who you are? Or
No. It's like if you're looking at paints, right, and then you have like, it's a wall of little cardboard things that show you the number and everything and what name it is. You'd have several different types of shades of blue there. So they don't know which one it is. They just go, oh, white.
Oh. Even though it's supposed to be blue.
Yeah.
That sounds a bit strange.
Yeah.
Because they don't know which blue it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
So they make it white.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Where do the tassels go? What do the tassels do?
Sort of on a belt or on a.
And what do they do?
Well, in one example, people said like, because Jesus eats, they show them as white sometimes on the picture. The woman who had the issue of blood, she was like, oh, if I only touch the bottom of his thing.
So that was
and then, like people are thinking the very bottom of his thing would have been his whatever he's wearing, would have been the zigzags.
These tassels.
These tassels.
So that's going over the robe over his shoulders, isn't it? Like a prayer thing or something?
I think so.
So they just don't worry about the prayer shawl, but they just get the zits. Is that right?
Yeah, the Hebrew roots that were going off, maybe they go off 119 ministries and
then
they
you
don't work
and then
fresh
you
or
use
something.
them for praying. Is that right?
Or
Or do they just
no?
do they remind you of something, or what do they do?
They're just a part you're supposed to wear. It's part of the commandments. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I felt really silly wearing them.
Did you have to wear them all the time?
Maybe if you were sleeping you didn't, but
Right.
I'm not sure.
But so these people believed in Jesus, did they?
Yeah, they're Messianic Jews type people.
Because the thing I read said that they were different to Messianic Jews, but I think so. I think Messianic Jews means that you've grown up a Jew and then you become a Christian, and then you're a Messianic Jew. But that the Hebrew roots are generally people who are Christian, who want to be Jews in a way. So they're pretending to be Jews, but they're still Christian. So did they talk much about Jesus? Was Jesus in the picture much? Did they how did they understand Jesus?
They have the sacred name and kind of thing with the sacred name, like what do they call him? Yahushua HaMashiach. That's what they were calling him, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And they felt that was important to call him by the right, proper Jewish name.
Somewhat important. There's some. I think sacred namers specifically go a bit further, and they're adamant. They might be a bit more crazy on that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I met a Jewish woman once in a church, and I asked her when she became a Christian, and she sort of looked at me with disgust and said, "I'm not a Christian," but she was a believer in Jesus.
Oh.
But it was like this pride about, I'm Jewish, I'm a fulfilled Jew, or whatever. I don't know. I never got to find out, but she was part of that kind of thing. So that's the Messianic Jews, who are a bit more like the Hebrew roots in the sense that they're wanting to keep their Jewish identity. And like the little bit I felt from her was that there was a kind of contempt for Christianity. So it's interesting, yeah. And interesting, like a lot of this stuff's going on at the moment. There was something I saw too, said that the Hebrew roots is kind of getting a bit inspired through Seventh-day Adventist.
Yeah.
Influenced by the Seventh-day Adventism. Because, yeah, they of course, they've got the Saturday Sabbath, and they have a lot of restrictions on food, and so they get into all that sort of stuff a bit more, don't they? So that's interesting. But it's fairly recent, this Hebrew root stuff is.
For me? Or?
For in the history of Christianity, like.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty recent, last maybe less than 20 years even. I think, like, as I said to Katherine, like when I became a Christian, there's certainly, I think people that want to go deep into it are always going to hit up against like wanting to go into the Hebrew, because it is our roots as Christians. That is where it's coming from, no doubt about it. And that kind of idea of getting away from Greek thinking and into Hebrew thinking, which is more concrete, and Greek is more abstract. And so I remember that being part of the kind of churches I was going to, people, and you know, quite rightly, a fascination with the temple and with all the Jewish ways. It's all part of our Old Testament. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But it just seems like it can get a bit out of control. And then it's like it goes back, like I said, it feels like it flips back into where the apostles were, of having to break out of that into the new thing. It's like going back to that and going, no, I want to go back. I want to go back into my mother's womb, sort of a bit-ish. I want to go back into the original religion and be religious, because there's something about religion that we are sort of attracted to, because it makes us feel like something definite.
Like hoping that Catholics right, and then I can make my granddad happy.
Yeah.
So it's Catholicism looks. Even Jordan Peterson was like, "You Protestants are the worst, and Catholics are doing it right," something like that. So it's Catholicism. Yeah, it has this shimmering thing of prettiness, I guess.
Yeah, and some sort of certainty and that feeling of deep, tradition and that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah, I was considering going out to I noticed the local Catholic church, one of them had Easter services on. I thought, oh, that might be fun. But yeah, I think I'm too far gone. But anyway, what else you got for us?
Yeah. Okay. And then this leads into I think this leads into the guy that got me out of it, but I'm not talking about that just yet. So, I find a guy called R.E. Dossett, and I'm amazed by his knowledge on the spiritual realm, and maybe Karen might want to check him out, maybe. Yeah. I don't know if he's right or wrong, I'm not sure. I'm still a bit weird about him.
Dossett.
Yeah, Dossett. R.E. D-O-S-S-E-T-T.
And so what's his thing?
Spiritual warfare.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay.
He's really good into that. And contracts and breaking contracts and stuff like that.
Ah.
He talks about spiritual contracts, make mine by my response to sin by saying, break contracts every time I sin. So I was doing that a lot in Gosford and possibly in Singleton. Yeah.
Breaking contracts every time you sin.
Yeah,
get free from.
So it's like, break contract, I didn't mean to do that, shouldn't be doing that, break contract. It's because every time you sin is contract.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Well, there's another tricky one, isn't it? Define sin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's once again it can end up going a bit kooky, don't you? A bit obsessive compulsive. Because anything can feel like a sin, can't it?
Yeah. Actually, it even includes things that we don't even know we've done. So we just automatically even babies in the womb, I don't think, but further to getting out of the womb and being a baby and doing stuff around for a bit, you end up sinning eventually, and then you probably already done some stuff that you sinned and you didn't even know about it.
It depends if we're talking about what biblical sin or what is sin. I don't know. I remember being very disturbed by, there's a Bible teacher online who's got a very good reputation, he's very good, but I heard him talking about witchcraft, and he was trying to say that any kind of manipulative behaviour, human behaviour, is witchcraft. And then he said even like a baby a few weeks old, when it realises that if it just cries, it'll get its mother's attention, even if it's not hungry. He defined that as witchcraft.
It's the conversations we were having before, sorry, that's a whole nother thing. Anyways.
But, because you don't like babies.
I don't like babies.
But my point is you can get a bit crazy if you don't have a clear idea of what things are, and because there's all the stuff about sin and all the stuff in the Bible, but there's also got to be that sense that there's original blessing, I think they call it, the idea that God made everything good. Everything is good. The earth is good. Humans are good. It's beautiful. And if you got to have that balance, or else you end up a bit crazy if you're just on this side of it's like what anorexia is. Anorexia is that you can't. You're sort of so trying to perfect this thing, which in that instance is your body, that you kill yourself because you're so trying to not do anything wrong. And it's like with this, you end up in a crazy space if you don't have that basis of knowing that it's good. It's good that you're human and that you're loved, and God delights in your existence, and that you've got to have that to then go in to understand what all the stuff about sin means. Sin really just means missing the mark, so it's just like an indicator that you're not that something's out of whack. That's what I reckon. Continue.
And then I just thought I'd add that Rashid Dossett, through a video, introduces me to the concept that self-defense is wrong. And then recently I just come back, I think I watched Mike Winger and he just turned that over itself.
Self-defense is wrong, so protecting yourself in any way?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a few things I don't, obviously, he goes with the A map and model of the flat earth. So it's like, okay.
Dossett?
Ari Dossett, yeah, he does go.
He goes with the flat earth model that you don't think is right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to look into my scientific knowledge. Science is not my strength, but I'm pretty sure that the flat earth stuff is crazy.
But we could at least check out those two channels that come together, Awake Souls and Limitless channel, and look at their map, which makes more sense than the AM map and model.
Well, I
give them
I just think you got to. I think some people are scientific and some people are religious. Some people.
I'm not either. I was confused. I was trying to figure it out, but it looked. I tried to, with as much intelligence as I had, I tried to figure out. Oh yeah, this makes more sense. It just requires you to have this Pac-Man / asteroids thing that goes in a circle and a loop. If you get to the edge, then you come back to the other edge.
Well, the way I see it is that you got people that are naturally have a scientific brain, and you have people that naturally have a religious brain, and both things are important. But it's a bit like when a scientific person presumes to know about religion without going deeply into it and understanding it and experiencing it. So it's a bit like that when religious people think that they can just, make up stuff according to their religion about science. Science is different, like the study of actual things that you can test, and it's a deep knowledge that's been passed along. And I think it's a little bit crazy when people start to think that you have to distrust all of the knowledge that's been passed down to us. I think that's a real danger. But anyway, as I said, that's
they had
different
conventions topic. And everything. Oh my gosh, the amount of people there just. I was an A map and model person, so I was dumb for a while.
Well, anyway, we're all pretty dumb, but yeah. But I think the Earth's a globe from everything I've seen. I can't see
I keep hearing the globe on the TV. I don't get triggered. I don't.
So you threw that one, past that one.
Yeah.
But so whatever's true is true. It's just unbelievable how much the flat Earth has taken off at our time. I can't believe it. Because it used to be just such a joke that someone would believe in the flat Earth when I was young. It's crazy. But I used to always think of it as one of those things about truth. When you're trying to work out what's truth, people get attached to ideas and they want to defend that idea and they just want to argue to protect their idea. And I used to say, well, it's like the Earth is either flat or it's round. It's not it doesn't change according to what you believe. So what we want to be aligned with is whatever's true. You know what I mean? Because people get so emotionally attached to ideas and it becomes all attached to their belief system and what their whole thing. But we need to be aligned with whatever is true. And so that means you don't be emotionally attached to things. You're I want to know what really is, in fact. Anyway.
Okay, this is still off centre, but it's for Karen. Rashid made an impressive video called something I'm pretty sure it's called that, Forced to Deal With You. It was about the enemy being forced to deal with you rather than do satanic rituals and victimize or hurt people because you are praying or using spiritual warfare, etc. So that means the victims won't get hurt because they have to deal with you first while you're praying for the victims. Yes, that's why it's called that, Forced to Deal With You. Yeah.
So what's this got to do with what we're talking about?
It's just Rashid Dossett got me out of it, and I just put some stuff about it.
Oh, okay,
This is some
okay.
related
So
stuff.
Rashid Dossett got you out of, is sort of watching him made you be able to see
I actually
that
talked
you
to
were
him
caught
on
in.
Facebook
Oh,
chat.
awesome.
So,
So that made you be able to see that you were sort of caught in something, and in terms of it being like a spiritual battle, like that you had to get out of it. Is that why you're talking about the spiritual side of it?
I just like I just thought, like, Karen, if you're watching, write it down, please.
Karen.
Like, write down about Rashid R.E. Dossett DOSSETT. But I just think she should check him out. Like,
Okay,
Yeah,
come on.
it's-
All right, we
and
better.
then-
We're taking a long time. We better
yeah, okay, we're getting to
crack
the end.
along.
I think we'll only end up with the we won't have
Just
to.
go to the end. Where are we up to?
The end is a lot of research, so we've talked about enough. But like, we can talk about get up to the point where just a lot of you in here.
Oh well, we better talk about me.
Yeah. But there's also some stuff I haven't gotten out of it yet. Okay. I watched a lot of interesting live streams from Now You See TV, including one with William Schnowman.
So can I just ask you what the Now You See TV? What is their thing?
Hebrew roots.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Okay.
Yeah. So, and William Schnowman's a former vampire, I believe.
William
Schnobelin.
Schnoblin. What a name.
Yeah.
So William Schnoblin is a Hebrew roots guy.
Yes.
Okay, and he said this. All right, carry
He
on.
said that all supernatural beings, fairies, mermaids, etc., all over your house were evil except for angels, and believed he agreed that female angels were evil too, or demons in disguise. During these live streams, William Schnobelin also said that any Jehovah's Witnesses material, watchtower or awake, etc., needs to be burned with fire, which I tried one time. So. Yeah, and then this is where it gets pretty sad, so I must say this. My normally Christian friends are scared, wary of me, possibly because of the Hebrews movement and flat earth, etc. But I hadn't put two and two together and realised that it could be the Hebrew roots movement that might have done it. So what happened was, at a Christian Bible study, my friend at the time, Liesl, asked if I wanted to go to her birthday party, and I hesitated before saying no, because I thought that birthdays were against God, and I feared God. So, that was really bad. Well, I believe Liesl squealed in offence at that, and her partner Wayne carefully consoled her. So I did that, so that's really bad. Then the other Christians at the Bible study wanted to understand what was going on, and I was adamant that I was doing the right thing. The other Christians didn't seem to convince me the other way too much. But like, this is when I get out of it. But Rashid Dossett did want to convince me the other way. I don't remember what Rashid Dossett said to me over Facebook chat or messages to get me out of the Hebrew roots message. And I did check it the other day, I think it was yesterday, and the message chat is no longer there. But he did it, and he did it quickly. It didn't take a long time. So he just gave me some basics. I forgot. I don't remember, and I tried to look for the chat, and I can't find it. It was too far back, so yeah. And then I'll kind of try and wind it up. Just a bit, it's getting into your bit now. So much later on, about 2023, I went to the Adelaide Botanical Gardens with some people from New Dawn Church I was attending, and I met a nice lady called Sophie.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah. I was amazed and happy to see another Christian truther. I was so impressed that I went to Sophie's Bible study nearly every Wednesday night. I also meet people who are now good friends like Lexi, Peter, Michelle and Lynn. As Sophie is more of a spiritual flowing and a bit of a new ager, each meeting slowly Slowly reduced my legalism. And then there's an example of this. I soon start to ease off on warnings from William Schnoebelen about supernatural creatures, such as I see a lot of mermaids here, and shit. You've got a fairy in the bookcase, don't you?
I probably have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I was first a Christian, a lot of that stuff was part of the kind of stream I was in too, just normal Pentecostal kind of fundamentalist stuff. So yeah, all the stuff about fairies and mermaids and that. So I went hardcore and got rid of all my stuff, and so I've been through that. That light went on. It must be Tim. But so it was a journey of mine too, to come around, just sort of going, actually, I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah, no.
So that's, I know, but so a lot of people are still in that, like, you know, I've had Christians sort of rebuking my mermaid sculptures. I've had a guy say, like as if the mermaid sculpture had power. But, so I know what that's like. But, yeah, carry on. Sorry, I feel like, you're...
Because of that, I added Norwegian band Kaino from Eurovision, Spirit in the Sky. So not the other Spirit in the Sky, this Kaino from Norway. To my playlist, despite the mention of fairies. And I kept heretical material from a heretical church, this time from the Mormons, rather than Jehovah's Witnesses like last time. I still keep Mormon material myself just in case it becomes useful in the future.
All right. Yeah. You kept the Mormon stuff.
Yeah, I actually spent because of the idolatry, this is, I just, as an anecdote, I spent 8 hours or so sticking paper over the top. Every time the Mormons in this booklet had an image of Jesus, I stuck a piece of paper over the top of it.
Dear.
Because it's can't have any image of Jesus in the house. And then I've gotten rid of Passion of Christ. I've gotten rid of all this stuff because it does have the image of Jesus in it. So, and now I've got the chosen piece of paper, poster, small poster for Lexi. I'm I don't know if I care anymore. Maybe it's just the Holy Spirit easing me out and just chilling me out, you know. Yeah, so.
All right, so we've
pretty
legalism.
Much at the end.
Okay.
There was this David the Greek bit, but it wasn't that. I looked at it and wasn't that good. I probably should talk about the Shane bit. That might be the end of it. There was a guy called Shane talking about the supposed true name of the Messiah, which is apparently Yeshua HaMashiach, to John and Julian of Street Mission on Fridays at Rundle. And I think he was talking about other things too. According to Daniel and John, he's wrong. And then I looked up the God culture, and this channel is adamant that in ancient Hebrew the name of God is Yahuwah. It was convincing that we should get it right, especially with getting the name, birthday of your spouse wrong. I think Rob Skeever's made that example as well. Don't get the name, the birthday of your spouse or name of the birthday of your spouse wrong. Yeah.
That's their thinking for how you might upset God. He might have a tanty or something.
Yeah.
Get his name wrong.
Yeah.
Might snub you.
And then I waited to see this debate between Shane and Street Mission later on. And then Shane came back like he said he would, gave out some research material and debated the name of Jesus with John. I don't think I learned anything here. I just thought it was significant. And then after that I did a whole bunch of research. Could tell you who the good stuff. Ren Boffer. I liked a Ren Boffer. That was good. Is
that a person?
It's a channel.
Oh.
I named the channel. So Ren Boffer was good, and I watched him. I found some stuff that rebukes Hebrew roots in my God time. I'll just go through it quickly, and then Mike Winger, he was good for stuff, as he usually is. I really do. I rate Mike Winger. He's good. Then, probably the last person who was really good was called the biblical roots.
Mm-hmm.
The biblical roots.
Well, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
I guess I think
Yeah.
human beings need religion. So one of the things I saw about Hebrew roots is it's maybe people who are from a Christian tradition who don't feel like they know how to pass on their religion to the next generation, and that the structure of religion gives you something to pass on to the next generation. And I can understand that, because if you go too Pentecostal, too spiritual, too free, and it's all just about the experience in the moment, it's hard to know how to pass that on. That's because that's something you have because you've gone down a religious avenue. I don't know. But anyway, so religion I think is important.
Yeah, so, I don't know about half, but
so religion is important.
Religion
Religion is important for society and culture, and for passing on knowledge. The knowledge of God needs to be passed on to the next generation. So that religion can go in different directions. It can go more and more free and spiritual, or free and social, like socially oriented, or it can go more and more towards the word and towards laws and that kind of thing. So it can go in both directions, but I think the grace is a different thing. It's not to do with just being more fluid or more structured. So that's the words I need: structure and flow. So you can have varying degrees of that, but you need to have both of them. Some it's like growing a garden. Some people are going to have a more wild garden. Some people are going to have a very structured garden. But as long as you're the gardener, as long as you're overseeing it, that it can go either in those directions. But I think grace is the grace that we understand through Christ is the difference between being a slave or a son. So if you're a slave, your relationship to the household is conditional, and you want to be on good behaviour, and there's certain rules that you've got to obey, and if you break them, then you are no longer you might get beaten, kicked out, whatever, you don't know. Your relationship is uncertain. But if somebody is born into the family, they belong to the family, they've got the same blood, so they've got a different set of circumstances and a different set of conditions on them. So there may be certain things expected of them, and there may even be punishments involved in that, punishment and reward, to develop them, but they belong. There's nothing can take them out of that family. They belong to that family. And I feel like that's the difference between grace and law. If you're still in the law, you're still sort of feeling insecure about where you haven't had that born again experience to know that you belong to God in a way that can't be changed by anything you do. Whereas still, if you're still in religion, it's like you haven't had that experience yet, and you're still in that place of uncertainty. Do I belong? Will I get kicked out? But knowing that you're connected into God, like you actually can't be taken away from God. If you,
Actually, and further to that, I just have to say, it's only been recently that I've been probably been umming and ahhing about am I saved, and I think it was last year with my pastor Scott Westwood of Para Hills Anglican Trinity Church. It was him that explained to me properly that I was saved properly, so he was good.
good. Yeah, that's good. That's what we want. Blessed assurance. Jesus is mine. Oh, what a foretaste of glory divine. Amen. All right. I think we've done our bit. Let's turn it off. Thank you. All you